Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here today with the weekend edition of the Cabral Concept, referred to as our Cabral HouseCalls, as if me entering your home to be able to answer your questions. It's something that I would love to have been able to have done now for the past 5+ years. Thousands and thousands of questions answered from our community, and really love being able to have the chance with you, spending these weekends with you to answer your questions. So remember, even if it's not your question that you might be waiting on, a lot of the times the answers that we can get from other people's questions, believe it or not, can kind of trigger a new thought in our mind that says, oh, wow, I could maybe be doing that too. Or, oh, that could really help my mom, my sister, my brother, my grandparents, whoever it might be. All right. So let's just keep that in mind, that we're all here to try to be in service to others, pay things forward in the knowledge that we've learned. And I really think that that's our highest and best service, without a doubt. So let me do my part. Let's dive into today's questions. The first question is from Holly, and Holly's saying, "Hi, Dr. Paul. Thank you for being such an inspiration and source of knowledge. You've transformed my health and now helping me transform my families too." Well, that's amazing. That's exactly what we're looking to do. So again, I don't even look at these questions ahead of time. So to see that right off the bat, that's fantastic. That's our mission. That's our goal. So Holly says, "My youngest son, age 3.5, often sleeps with his mouth open, breathing through it rather than his nose. I've heard you mention this. It isn't good, and wondered why. How can I make a nose breather if that's possible? I also hear him grinding his teeth often in his sleep. Is that something to worry about? Thanks again, Holly." Okay. So without a doubt, I would love you to listen to my podcast with, it's an interview with Patrick McKeon and also with James Nestor. All right. If you have a child that is a mouth breather, then their palate and jaw and face are not actually going to form in the same way. I know that seems dramatic. Okay. So it's not going to dramatically change, but it is. And that's because when you sleep, especially as a child, the tongue should be resting against the soft palate between the teeth on the top of the mouth. That happens naturally. Think about it. Just close your mouth for a second. Feel the tongue touch the top, the soft palate. That tongue actually keeps the teeth from crowding in on each other. If the teeth crowd in on each other, then the jaw actually becomes thinner, not as wide as it should. It can cause mandibular issues, jaw issues, all sorts of different things. And it actually can change the breathing passage. Very important. It is possible that your son has some type of inflammation in the sinus cavities that are shrinking them, not allowing him to get in the air that he needs. It's possible that his adenoids and tonsils are also a little bit swollen. Sometimes that happens from previous infection, sometimes from food sensitivities like dairy and gluten, sometimes even eggs. So you can actually run a food sensitivity test with your son. You can definitely do that. And you can look in the back of the throat to see if those tonsils are swollen. We had to do a protocol with my daughter, my oldest daughter, not my youngest, and we had to shrink those tonsils, and that's what we did. So that's that. That's why it's not good. How do you make them a nose breather? Okay, well, we need to retrain them. So during the day, I did this show with Patrick McKeon, and then I did mouth taping, all right? So go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. You can see the interview with Patrick, the interview with James, and then you can also look at my Friday review for malt taping. You won't do this overnight for a 3.5-year-old. I'm not recommending that. I'm not saying to do malt taping with a 3.5-year-old overnight. Okay. But during the day, you can put that little piece of malt tape around the mouth. It's not over the mouth. It's around the mouth so they can still open their mouth if they need to. But it retrains them during the day to breathe through the nose. Now, you all also want to fix the inflammation, the food sensitivities, anything like that, if there is any. All right, Holly? Hopefully that gets you started. Great question. Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. C. Thanks again for all you do. I'm doing the CBO protocol and following it to a T. I did have a question, as some of the food listed on the Sensitive Gut Guide are not approved when it comes to removing or eliminating traditional FODMAPs. For example, asparagus, broccoli, beans, beets, watermelon, and squash. What is the difference in your plan versus that? I know you have a method to your madness, but just curious on your variations. Are those foods not actually fermentable in your guts? Also, we introduced new foods down the road. What symptoms should we look for? Why would they just be digestive disturbances, since this is our gut protocol, or would they mimic food sensitivity symptoms? Thanks again. All right, happy to answer this. There's so many foods that could be considered fructo, oligo, di, mono, and polysaccharides. That's FODMAPs, right? So our plan is not just FODMAPs, right? Our plan is lower sensitivity based foods. So when you're having some beans and you're having some broccoli and you're having some beets, we're actually cooking those. They're all cooked. And beans, we're typically saying buy them sprouted. Cook them up really well. Make them into like a black bean soup if you want, okay? And then squash as well. And squash, you'll see on that, is limited to about 3/4 of a cup or so. All right, so now why do we allow some? The reason is that there's levels of fructans, or fructo, oligo, monopolysaccharides, in these foods. And so if the level's not as high, we allow that in the plan. However, we do say in the plan, anything that causes you bloating, gas, skin rashes, brain fog, you're going to remove. So those are your symptoms. That's what you look for. And so we don't have to eliminate every food in the world. We eliminate the ones that cause the most people the most amount of gastric distress, right? GI distress, digestive disturbances. So that's what we do. And then after after 3 weeks, we can start to introduce some low reactive grains. That's optional. Then after another 3 weeks, we start introducing additional foods. If they cause bloating, you keep them out, right? Just keep them out. Then we start to introduce more vegetables after another 2 weeks. And let's say you add back in cauliflower. Oh, and all of a sudden you get bloated. Okay, keep the cauliflower out, right? We're not asking you to eat anything that causes the digestive disturbances, skin rashes, brain fog, or other symptoms from adding that food in that you might feel within 24 hours of eating that food. All right, great question, Anonymous. Andrea's up next. Hi, thank you so much for answering my question. What is the minimum fat percentage you'd recommend for a woman? It seems like a very low percentage that can sometimes cause hormonal dysfunction. Would you say 15% maybe? Yeah, it's a great question. I would actually go back, go to stevencabral.com/podcast and type in like healthy body fat. And I have a podcast on all the healthy body fats. Actually, I just did this not too long ago. And I have an assessment at stevencabral.com/ it must be assessments, that you can actually see what your body fat is, even if you don't have calipers. Definitely check out that podcast for sure, and then do your own assessment. Okay, for women, healthy, about 18 to 22. Okay, for men, 14 to 18, but men can get all the way down really to 8% body fat. It's not an issue. Women could get down to about 13%. All right, so 15%, I think you're about right. I wouldn't go below 15% for most women. 13% and lower often causes amenorrhea in women. So I definitely wouldn't do that. So yeah, about 15%. I think that's probably the low. And for men, the low is about 8%. And then can you go lower? Of course, right? But you're just going to be in a much more of a catabolic state. The body's going to definitely have more stress on it. So it's easy to do when you're younger, much harder to do when you're older, greater amount of stress on the body. So right on. But again, for women, healthy right around 18 to 22, some women up to 26%. So I'm not saying you can't be 22 to 26% and at a healthy weight. For men, 14 to 18%, that's more athletic, up to 20% or so, and that's okay for men. All right. Catherine's up next. Can integrative medicine help people who suffer from arrhythmia? And the answer is absolutely yes, especially if you haven't had that arrhythmia since birth. So a lot of people often develop an arrhythmia teenage years and after. And again, I have to give my, because now we're asking about medical symptoms, right? So I cannot provide you with any medical advice, any treatment protocols, or any diagnosis, okay? But what I can see is that as people begin to rebalance their body, especially electrolytes and removal of heavy metals, I have seen arrhythmias go away. Okay. Am I claiming to be able to cure arrhythmias? Nope, I can't make that claim. So what I'm showing you is that by rebalancing your body, the underlying root causes, those arrhythmias can go away. Oftentimes, and again, I'm not prescribing or recommending anything, there's an imbalance between calcium and magnesium and sodium and potassium. All right? So a good place to start is by running what's called the starter kit at stevencabral.com/labs to take a look at your vitamin and mineral levels plus heavy metals. Great question. Dar's up next. I'm 39 years old and I have low ferritin around a 4. So for those people who want to know, ferritin is usually an iron marker in your body. My specialist had a CT scan done and noticed that one of my kidneys had shrunk quite a bit and believes only the one kidney is functioning but doing well. Is there anything I can do to regrow the shrunk kidney? Most likely, the MD said from a sports injury or since birth. I told him I took a number of hits in physical sports growing up, and what do you recommend supplementing the remaining kidney with? That's a great question. So it is entirely possible that you simply had one kidney that was smaller than the other from birth. It's far more likely than getting an injury and that kidney shrinking. Now, I will say getting an injury can cause atrophy to the kidney, which is actually it's different because you had a full-grown kidney and then part of it got essentially destroyed, weakened from some type of physical injury. So both are definitely possible. There's no doubt about it. If it's naturally small from birth, I don't know a way that you're going to get it to grow. Okay, I don't know of that way. What I can tell you is this. The cleaner that you make your blood, and I know that might sound kind of strange, but the cleaner you can make your blood, the healthier your kidneys are, the healthier your liver is as well. And that's because your kidneys then have to do less work. Let me give you an example. If you have intestinal permeability, which I've spoken about many times on my show, then that means you have extra proteins and bacteria floating around in your bloodstream. Your liver is going to do its best to filter those first. We all know that our liver is inundated with over 100,000 man-made chemicals in the environment. Then whatever isn't filtered, your kidneys have to take care of, so it can come out as urine instead of as stool. So what happens is if people are dehydrated or they are eating poor foods, inflammatory foods, it can cause the liver with the kidneys as well. It typically shows up as BUN, right? BUN and creatinine on your blood work that you do your PCP. And so you can start to see if those levels are getting a little bit too high. I would say that you want to look out for why is it not coming into my brain right now? Begins with an A. Ooh, it's not coming to my brain. It is not coming to my brain right now, but it's a marker for tissue in the blood or protein in the blood. All right, I'll see if I can think about it. All right, so that is something that you look at, and then what you want to do is make sure that there's not that intestinal permeability, that you're doing a functional medicine, liver detox, all these good things to be able to clean up the blood. And then, of course, I typically recommend just for overall health, daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3. Level 3 if there's anything with the kidneys or liver, and then also the immunity protocol. All right, so that's where I would start at least before functional medicine lab testing. All right, Maureen is up next and last today. This is our 6th question. We do 6 questions today and we'll do 6 questions tomorrow. And all of today's questions are at stevencabral.com/2129. All right, Maureen is up. Dear Dr. Cabral, thank you for your amazing podcast. I look forward to it every day and learn so many tips to improve my health. My question has to do with eating seeds. Every day I put 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and 2 tablespoons of flax seeds in the daily nutritional shake. I blend this all up to make it easier to digest. I often eat hemp seeds later in the day for additional protein, as well as pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds on my salad. Do you think this is too many seeds to eat one day? Might I develop an allergy to them, or is it hard on the digestive system to eat this many seeds? All right, this is a great question. So we've got chia seeds, we have flax seeds. You're doing 4 tablespoons of those. Then you have pumpkin seeds and often hemp seeds later in the day. So maybe 6 tablespoons per day. Well, I can tell you this. It may be a little too much in one day, from simply the standpoint that your macros are going to tilt dramatically towards a higher fat diet. Maybe you want that though. Maybe that's what you're going for, because each tablespoon is going to be around 9 grams of fat or so. Again, I'm not saying fat's bad, but you're going to be getting, let's say in 6, what are you going to get in 6? About 700 to 800 calories just from your seeds. So, I mean, it's quite a bit from fat. So In terms of roughage on your intestinal tract, chia seeds are pretty easy. They absorb water. They're pretty good for the digestive tract as long as you don't have, lectin-based issues. Flax seeds can be great for omega-3s, especially if they're not oxidized. Pumpkin seeds are one of my favorites for zinc and for healthy iron. And hemp seeds, you can even buy hemp hearts, which are even easier to digest. Lots of great protein in them as well. So I don't think you're going overboard. I can't give you specific nutritional recommendations, but you might want to do 4 tablespoons a day instead of 6. It's always trying to find that happy medium. It's like if a little is good, then a lot isn't necessarily better. So you might even be doing 8 tablespoons a day, which is over 1,000 calories essentially. It's about 1,000 calories just in seeds. So I don't know that I would push that far in that one direction if it were, well, we'll put it this way, because I can only give you my advice for what I would do. And I would say it would be too much. You can do 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, 1 tablespoon of flax. Fantastic. So you get your shake. And then later in the day, you could have another tablespoon of hemp hearts. I'll do 3 tablespoons of hemp hearts a day. Easier to digest though, because they're already popped. It's popped out of the seed. A lot of high protein, easy to digest, and they're pretty balanced between protein and fat. It's not a super high fat one. So I would say 3 to 4 tablespoons a day. I think you're all set. I think you're good. And then you can always run that food sensitivity test to see if it is a food sensitivity. And you can find that lab at stevencabral.com/labs. Really great questions today. You're making me think. I appreciate that. So again, for all of the questions for today's show, you can go to stevencabral.com/2129. And while you're there, of course, if you haven't read it yet, feel free to pick up my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. It is now completely free. You just pay shipping and handling. I pay for the printing. Have an amazing rest of the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow answering 6 more of our community's questions. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Appreciate you joining me here. Once again, as always, I appreciate the support. And right now, going on over at Equal Life, you can save up to 25% off the entire store. Over 100 different products, protocols, and at-home lab tests, up to 25% off. Plus, this week, we are adding a brand new fun feature to the Equal Life website, and that is our way of hopefully spreading the holiday cheer and also allowing you to save even more. To see what I mean, head on over to stevencabral.com/shop. Again, that's stevencabral.com/shop for up to 25% off store-wide, plus unique features only happening this week over at Equal Life. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day.